Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Pam and I make content around mental health, trauma and recovery. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, I just wanted to share with you 10 things I have learned working in mental health. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a social worker. I'm a mental health social worker. And I've been working within the field of mental health for just a little over 2 years, but I've been a qualified social worker coming up to about 10 years now. I'm also a qualified approved mental health professional, which means that I have been trained in mental health law as well. And I'm also in the process of completing my therapy training to become a therapist. So that's a bit background about who I am and what I do. All things mental health is where my interest is. And over the years, I have learned so many different things, particularly since I've moved into working in mental health, that I think would be useful to share with you. So this is really what the channel is about. It's about me sharing my knowledge and skills and tools and resources that I have built up over the years, just in order to provide you with some guidance and some tools about how to support yourself in your recovery journey. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing I have learned working in mental health is that you are responsible for your recovery. Now, this is a very, very important point. And I say you're responsible for your recovery, but you're not responsible for what happened to you. However, when it comes to recovery, you are responsible for that. And the reason why I say this is that often at times working within this field of mental health, you see so many different people accessing the service from various different backgrounds with various different trauma history. And somehow and sometimes it feels as though they are so dependent on services and they're looking for a cure, which quite frankly services don't have. I always say that there's limitations to medication, there's limitations to therapy, there's limitations to social care input. Although these services and resources are available to help, you as the patient, you as the person who has gone through whatever you've gone through, are responsible for your recovery. You have to actively use the tools that you've been given to support your recovery journey. And I say this because, like I said, sometimes people come into the services expecting a cure and they get very disappointed when they find out that there's actually limitations to so many different offers that is available to them. So the first thing that I have learned within this field is that although you're not responsible for what happened to you, you are responsible for your recovery. Guys, the sun is beaming today. This is the UK. It rarely happens, so I'm really soaking it up, but you may see a changes in the camera and here and there. And I've also got my notes here, so bear with me if I do look down. So the next thing that I have learned within this field is that you are the expert in your own life. And again, this relates back to my first point, which is that often at times when people come into services, because we as professionals have had all these years of training and degrees and all the rest of it, there is this assumption that we are the experts in their life. And I don't agree with that. I'm not the expert. I don't consider myself to be the expert because I haven't walked your shoes. I haven't walked in your shoes. I haven't lived your experiences. You are the one who lives with your symptoms day in and day out. You know what it feels like to suffer insomnia. You know what it feels like for those flashbacks to invade your life. You know what it feels like to be in high distress and anxiety. I know these things based on what I've learned. Of course, there are professionals who have gone through certain things themselves, and I'm not, negating or anything, but the point I'm trying to make is that you have lived in your shoes. You have walked your path. You are the one who experienced whatever it is that you've gone through. So you are the expert, not us. We have gone to study and learn and have tools and resources that can help, but ultimately these tools may not work for you, and that's the honest truth. But within services, because we're meeting a huge demand of people, sometimes people are put under pathways, and these pathways may not necessarily be bespoke to your need. So advocate for yourself. Remember that you are the expert. If something doesn't work for you, then speak up and say, actually, this doesn't work for me. But always remember that you are the expert in your situation, not the professionals. The professionals are here to support you and offer you the tools that you need with the expertise and knowledge they've gained. But you are the person with the lived experience. So that's the second thing I would like to share in regards to what I have learned since working in this field of mental health. The third thing I have learned is that try alternative approaches. Again, this links into the previous thing that I have talked about, within the NHS, within the mental health system in general, there are different pathways. So depending on what your diagnosis is, for example, if you've got depression, this is the pathway. If you've got anxiety, if you've got OCD, these are the pathways available for you. And although they're great, it doesn't always work for everybody because everybody's needs are different. Some people don't just have depression, they might have depression and anxiety and OCD. So trying to put somebody in a box and say, because you have this is what you must have, you know, I get it's trying to help. And again, this is to do with the limitations of the services that we have and finances, all the rest of it. But actually, I would encourage you to take initiative in exploring alternative approaches and alternative services that may not necessarily fall under the NHS. You know, there are things like somatic types of therapy, which I don't know if you can get under the NHS, maybe within some, but where I am, I don't think you can get it. There are, you know, other spirituality types of healing and, you know, holistic approaches. There are certain treatments which may not necessarily be clinical or form under the medical model, so medication. There may be other different alternatives, some herbs, so many different alternative things that you can try. So if you've already tried something within the system and it's not working for you, do not hesitate to try alternative things. Feel free to talk to your GP about it. Feel free to talk to your social worker, your nurse, your therapist, your psychiatrist about it, just to explore what the different risk may be, or just to explore what the different side effects may be. But do consider trying alternative support if what you're currently getting does not work for you. The other point I'd like to make is that it's about a holistic approach. Again, time and time again, working in this field, I have seen how the mind is linked with the soul and it's also linked with the body. You know, if you're going through a mental health illness, it's not just about that. Often at times there's a lot of research to show the impact of mental illness on physical health, and likewise, you know, so these things are all interlinked, right? If you exercise, if you eat right, if you change your diet, is more likely to have a positive impact on your mood and the chemicals and the brain function and so many different things. These things are all interlinked. They all feed off each other. They all bounce off each other. So when you are in the process of recovery, yes, you may not necessarily be able to focus on all these various different aspects all in one go, but do make sure that you exercise, make sure you look after your physical health, make sure you look after your social health, make sure you look after your mental health, because these things are all linked. People who have a healthy social network are more likely to have, you know, healthier well-being lifestyles. You know, people who eat healthy, who exercise, who get regular, you know, yearly checks from the GP, who look after the physical body, are also more likely to experience positive moods and just be better overall in their well-being. So don't forget that on your recovery journey, this is a holistic approach. It's not just about the mental health, it's also about the physical health, it's also about your social life. So take that holistic view in your recovery journey. I don't know what point I'm on now, so I'm just going to read as I go along. The other thing that I have also learned working within this field is that, especially working with various different patients and clients, is that those who lack a sense of purpose are the ones who tend to struggle the most, based on what I have observed. The patients and clients who I work with who have a sense of purpose tend to do better. And the reason being is that this sense of purpose gives them some element of control over their lives. Although they may not have had control over what happened to them, finding a way to use that in a way that is purposeful, whether it's for your own good or for the good of other people in the community, you know, gives you a sense of control over what you've gone through, right? It gives you a sense of, yes, I know I've gone through this, but this does not define me. This can be used in a way that benefits me and benefits other people in the community. So I have found that those people who have a sense of purpose are the ones who tend to do very, very well in their recovery journey. Years on and years on, they're often pioneers. These are people who go up to set charities, who set up support groups in the local community to help other people, and so on and so forth. So yeah, try and figure out what your sense of purpose is, or how you can utilize your experiences to cultivate a sense of purpose in your recovery journey. Another thing I have learned working in this field of mental health is that deal with it now, because it does not go away. I think by nature of what trauma is, you know, it's easier to lock things away, right? It's easier to not feel those very hard emotions. It's easier to block things in your mind, to drink and take alcohol to suppress all these memories, right? However, these experiences do not go away. And I say this because I have worked with people well in their 70s who are now dealing with their traumas. I have worked with women, men in their 50s and the 40s, 60s who were locked things away, you know, lived a life, went on to have families, did so well career-wise, and all of a sudden there's been a trigger and everything comes crumbling down. They lose their children, they lose their marriage, they lose their home, they lose their cars, they lose absolutely everything. So my advice to you is, as soon as you become aware of your trauma and you feel safe enough within your environment, your body to do so, start doing the work now. Sorry, so that it does not catch up with you later, because it does not go away. The other thing I have learned working within this field of mental health is that mental health does not discriminate. Again, I've mentioned about working with people well in their 70s. I've worked with people who are Asian, Black, Chinese, all different types of races, male, female. It does not discriminate. It's not specific to a specific group. It's not, but you know, sometimes you hear that, oh, you know, the Western world has more mental health issues, so on and so forth. Guys, it does not discriminate. It doesn't matter what part of the world that you're in. It does not discriminate. And the reason being is that life is just filled with adversities, right? Things that we can't control. So everybody goes through something. Some people deal with it in different ways to other people, but there's so many contributing factors that goes into how a person deals with their stuff. You know, the level of resilience, the frame of reference, you know, the ability to overcome. There are so many different factors, but the point I'm trying to make is that mental health does not discriminate. It could be you. Like I said, I've worked with women and men who were in high paying jobs, and unfortunately things just came crumbling down because they didn't deal with stuff, and it caught up to them and they absolutely lost everything, and it feels like they're having to start life all over again. So mental health does not discriminate. I think I've got 2 more to go. Another thing I have learned since working within this field of mental health is that there are limitations to services. And I think I've touched on this briefly. My earlier point is that there's limitations to psychological help. There's limitations to social care involvement. There's limitation to psychiatry involvement. All these things are there to support, but they are limited. Medication can help suppress some of the symptoms that you may have, but it will not cure you. Therapy can help you become self-aware, but you have to take an active role in making those daily changes and taking those steps daily to live a fulfilling life. You can have a social worker involved to support you with your benefits, with your housing. These may provide you with some relief, but there are limitations to all of these services. So again, this is where self-motivation comes in. This is where leaning on your extended support network, friends, support groups, you know, use the people around you to aid you in your recovery, because unfortunately the services that is on offer has limitations. And the last and final one is that motivation comes from doing. And again, I've seen this time and time again working within the field of mental health, where people come to us expecting medication to keep them motivated, and if my medication was just a bit increased, or if I had therapy I'll feel much better. But the reality of it is that motivation comes from doing, and it doesn't have to be the big stuff. It can just start with the small stuff. Wake up and brush your teeth. That's enough. That's a huge accomplishment. You know, have a shower today. That is a huge accomplishment. Have a healthy meal today. That's a huge accomplishment. Don't wait to feel motivated before you start actively taking the steps for your recovery, because motivation often comes when you begin to do these things. Once you start doing and you see the positive results and you feel good about yourself, it's like a self-fulfilling cycle whereby you want to feel more better. So you keep doing these things to help you feel better and stay motivated. So guys, thank you so much. Just to round off what I've shared: 1, you are responsible for your recovery. 2, motivation comes from doing. 3, there are limitations to services. 4, mental health does not discriminate. 5, deal with it now because it does not go away. 6, try and figure out a sense of purpose. Try and use what you've gone through to cultivate a sense of purpose. It's about a holistic approach. Don't just focus on mental health, focus on physical health, social life, and these things, and work through things holistically. Try alternative approaches. Speak to your GP or psychiatrist about alternative approaches to identify what risk and side effects there may be, but do not hesitate to try that, and that you are the expert in your own life. So yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care. Bye.